Chapter 33. Hours after staring at the vial, Rosner tucks it in his waistband, out of sight. Then he heads out to find the others. Huon and Kisra are easy. Rosner caught on quick that if something frustrates either of them, the place they go is the library. After several turns, long hallways, and the questioning of guards, he walks in on a small collection of texts. Well, small in terms of the other two libraries he has visited. It is a single room 3 stories high, twice as wide, and twice as long as the width. The windows on the upper floor suggest that this is not in the hill they started in. It seems the buildings are connected underground as much as they are above. They both lean over several books at a table on a second-floor balcony. "Anything interesting?" he muses. They both stop and look up at him in shock. But what surprises Rosner is Kisra giving him a big hug, which she quickly pulls out of. "Sorry," she breathes, turning her face away. She then returns to the table. "No, nothing too interesting. Well, at least nothing that relates to what has been going on." Rosner walks over. Not many populate the library, but those that are present glance in their direction. "What do you mean? Have you been doing this since he woke up?" The words will just not come. Huon dismisses Rosner. "You tend not to focus on them eventually. However," he points at a particular book, "I found this to be of interest." Rosner peers at it, but immediately shakes his head. The book is in a different script. He starts to relay this too, when a word he does recognize catches his attention. "Children," annotated along the border of the page. Several sentences in the common tongue are written. "Of the children of the seer Shakri, only one survives to this day. This text talks of the children, of whom we're called to have none, though war, pillaging, and molesting do not follow such rules." "I do not know why it was written," Huon confesses, "but I feel, if this is true, it talks of the child that stands at the Sphinx's side." "Why is that?" Rosner asks. Kisra slides Huon another book, another Rosner cannot read. Thankfully, Huon takes to reading it out loud. "It is said 9 children left the seer Shakri the day they were all gifted. However, records only have ever indicated 7. 1 for each of the eventual rulers of Omnimentus. They were the pride of each kingdom until turmoil started in the north. None of the 7 talked of good fortune, and slowly were discarded one way or another. Soon, sorcerers replaced them as advisors." Rosner looks crossed at the two of them. "I do not think that explains much." "Do you see any sorcerer type?" Kisra questions. "And then there is this," Huon says, flipping a few pages. Huon rattles on about some of the characteristics of the children, but Rosner has his eyes on a picture. A small blade with runic symbols along its length, a basic 2-prong crossguard, leather-wrapped hilt, and a spherical gem gripped in a talon-like pommel. "That is the blade I was stabbed with," Rosner mumbles. "It is the ceremonial dagger of the children of Shakri," the orc relays. "They used it for sacrifice and various other activities." Rosner tries to piece this all together, though he's not sure what kind of pieces he has. One thing, however, does strike his memory. "Kisra," he says, Did you not say this was a ceremonial dagger when the child pulled it out? She nods. Yes, but only what it looks like. I knew nothing about its use. Rosner thinks some more. She mentioned something about me being the cursed one. Do either of you know what that means? The two look at him with mild concern. Then the orc points at a sentence a few sections below the picture. This is all I have found on that. At the rise of the cursed one, the dagger will be their judgment. Otherwise, I have no clue. For a moment, they all ponder what is before them. Then Roster finds himself asking, What did the child tell you? It seems to be the wrong question to ask, because the air becomes uncomfortable. Nothing that needs repeating, is all Huon says. Kisra looks to have the same thought, only she stays quiet. Feeling like he killed the mood, Rosner tells them he is off to find Cyan and Kanyu and departs. However, it is not long before his feet go one way and his mind travels another. Maybe he should not have asked about meeting with the child. Only he feels so unnerved by his encounter. He wants to know his feelings are justified. And maybe they already are. With the way everyone acted after talking with her, they all were, and still are, unnerved. And what of this dagger? The dagger will be their judgment. Until Rosner heard this, he thought nothing of the weapon. But now, why is the dagger so important? Is it as important as he thinks? And why is he being called the cursed one? Cursed? Dagger? Rosner's mind drifts back to the ship after he was betrayed by Arndt. He growls at the thought. If he ever comes across him again, Rosner will gladly show him what he has learned. But on the ship, when they were breaking free, an elf and an orc both called the dagger that materialized in his hand cursed. Could all this be connected, or just two random occurrences? Rosner is inclined to believe so. But how? By my reign! Why can things not be simple? At the rate he is going, the next thing someone will tell him is that the goddess herself is still alive. Alongside the others, every priest, cleric, and other religious figure say are dead. And would that not upend everything they have come to know? Rosner lets a small, hysterical laugh escape him. There would be chaos. People, cursed one. Rosner looks to see the child staring blankly at him. They stand back in the foyer near the back. I shall announce you to the Sphinx, she tells him before walking down the hallway. He immediately chases after her. Announce me, he asks incredulously. I have no desire to speak. She does not stop walking. I believe not that you are seeking to talk with me. Only the Sphinx lies beyond my quarters, and if not her, who would you seek? Rosner stares at the back of the orc's head. A thick, black braid laced with gold and silver hoops falls down her back from her crown, ending just above her waist. The rest of her shaved skull is covered in runic tattoos and other strange symbols. He wants to argue with her, but he cannot. If anyone has answers, she will. At least some of them. He hopes. She disappears through the oak doors ahead of Rosner. Several seconds pass before a guard from inside waves him to enter. Like before, the Sphinx sits on her throne. However, instead of a sword across her lap, she wields a book, which she casually sets aside as he approaches. I was beginning to wonder how long it would take for you to wander here. Her tone, flat as it is, does not match her words. Nonetheless, Rosner is thrown off. What do you mean? He questions. Without a word, she rises, walks behind her throne, and removes something from it. When she comes around again, a sword is strapped to her side. Then, follow me, she instructs before walking away. Seeing no other choice, he does so. So, a hand goes up from the Sphinx, cutting Rosner off. Here, she tells him, I will do most of the talking and all the questioning. You will answer, and you will be concise. Understand? Rosner nods. Yes. For a brief moment, the Sphinx's mood shifts. Sphinx, she instructs. Yes, Sphinx. It is a title I well and earned, unlike others. Least not honorably. Then it is gone. Understand? Rosner bites his tongue and says, Yes, Sphinx. There is an air about her he distastes, but in the same regard, he is surprised he has grown respect for her. Despite her stabbing him, seemingly to prove a point, everything she does is calculated. She does not put herself above those before her, but she demands those around her to acknowledge her position. Most of the hallways they wander past are well lit, but rarely traveled. An occasional soft piece of dirt keeps wandering in his memory. They turn down a hallway equally lit and equally abandoned. I knew sooner or later you would come back to talk with me. Alone, the Sphinx tells him. You want answers they cannot offer. I can. I might, dare say, believe that you know more than they do, and likewise more than you realize. However, I will not answer any questions of yours, your party's, or help you answer your own questions until I am convinced your mind is impenetrable. She stops outside a plain wooden door and faces him. He opens his mouth to protest, but stops himself when she raises an eyebrow. Then she tilts her head ever so slightly to the door. She really wants him to open it for her. Again, Rosner bites his tongue and does so, following her in. The room is similar to the one she stabbed him in, a stone floor with strange symbols on the ground, but a table and 2 chairs wait in the center. She sits down and waves him over to the other. Hesitant as he is, Rosner does so. After taking his seat, the Sphinx says, The circle does not impair you as the other did. In fact, it does the opposite. It protects those inside from those outside. Mentally. This room is for training purposes. Any who feel they can take over my position enter here and go through an evaluation. This evaluation tests their mental abilities, particularly how good you are at defending your mind from unwanted guests. We do such for the protection of the tester and for all those who seek my judgment or rule. It is for this reason I have brought you here. Now, remove your talisman. What? Rosner reaches for his neck and rests his hand over the talisman beneath his shirt. Twice today he has been asked to remove it, or whereas when he first received it, he was told to never take it off. So, why is he doing so? Why does he trust the child and the Sphinx? They could very well be planning something against him. But why would they? They seem to know little more than he does, if that. Then he remembers that air about the Sphinx moments ago. It still lingers. He takes off the necklace. Before he sets it on the table, Rosner's head erupts in pain, like it is being split in 2. Several hour-long seconds pass before his head clears. You hail from Ticthrim, the Sphinx says, a small village on the southern edge of the Forgotten Sea. How did you... His head splits again. Rosner barely hears the Sphinx speak over his pain. Your siblings, Astra and Kadoric, you were close, but you and Astra are closer. A reader, I see. So you have some knowledge of the outside world. Now, this is interesting. A castle just falls into the sea, and this old man, Palfrey, as you call him, he unnerves me. He seems to have an interest in you. The pain stops. It seems you have gone through many trials before leaving home, the Sphinx says. Rosner stares at her, hunched over, sweating. However, there is something that troubles me more, she confesses. This supposed cave, just within the roots of a tree. That is all I see. I cannot follow your mind inside. Something forbids me. Would you know the reason? Instead of answering, Rosner asks his own question. Why are you doing this? He grits his teeth in pain. The Sphinx stares at him, unimpressed. I'm made aware I do not want your questions, this one in particular, as I have justly answered it prior to us commencing. I will teach you to block others from entering your mind, but first I must show you the pain of one within it. Once we have done this, we will move on to thoughts. And no, they are not the same. Memories are buried, integrated into our minds, making them painful when others look for them. Thoughts are a mere passing glance, a slice at the surface before being integrated into memory or tossed and forgotten completely. Here, one might feel a tingle or some other sensation in the back of your head. They are harder to detect, but can also result in more deadly consequences. Only once both have been mastered will I allow you to leave and journey to seek Savona. Rosner almost smiles. But I know not where to search. A small smile plays on the Sphinx's lips. It sends a chill down Rosner's spine. But I do. After a cycle, the Sphinx still refuses to relinquish Savona's location. On the bright side, he has learned a great deal on how to shield his mind. But the Sphinx is not easy to impress, and the others are starting to get impatient. If she keeps you here any longer, I might just leave myself, Kanyu growls while they sit around a table at the weighted scales, a tavern most of the city's occupants visit at one point or another. She is only keeping me here, Rosner reminds him. You have no obligation to stay if you feel it necessary to leave. Besides, Cyan adds, a couple drinks in, you have no place to go save one. And I do not believe you are itching to go back. The rest laugh. Kanyu stews. Rosner finds it amazing how even after drinking, none of them mention the Sea Haven outright. Hell, I just do not care for this place, Kanyu growls. You care not for any place you have been, Huon comments heartedly. That is because they all rot, Kanyu finishes. He starts angry, but a memory flashes before him. Rosner sees it in his eyes as they momentarily glaze over, and he grows quiet, reserved. Then he downs what is left of his mug and waves for another. Everyone regards him for a moment, then lets him sink into his own world. The tavern is not overly loud, just idle chatter amongst friends. But it is early. Moments ago, the bell tower rang out 6 chimes, signaling 6 hours since Savona sat her throne. Is it even appropriate to say such a thing anymore? If they have her name wrong, who is to say nothing else is wrong? Several tables remain empty, but residents slowly fill them as the night returns. When the orc speaks, Rosner's attention floats to him. He sounds grave. I have heard rumor, he says hushed, from those traveling from the east, from around Kavon, that war is coming. Cyan momentarily dismisses it. We have been warring with ourselves for years, no thanks to him. She says the second part more hushed, no telling who listens. But Huon shakes his head. It be more than the skirmishes he has always sent. Talks say he is pulling the troops. Droves of them have been seen entering the city and encamping along its outskirts. The fighter's face pales. So, war is coming. More nervous than anything, Kisra asks. So, who is to say such things are true? They all look at her, save Kanyu, who stares at his mug. She nods and takes a deep breath. Right. What does this mean for us? Rosner asks. Huon shrugs. For now, I suppose it means nothing. But wherever we head next, I wish to be far ahead or in the opposite direction of them. Sooner or later, though, this war will affect us. Cyan opens her mouth to say something, but stops herself. Rosner follows her gaze, but he turns back when she clears her throat. He looks at her cross. The woman eyes her leg where she wags a finger. Rosner understands. Do not draw attention. They pass a few minutes in silence. The tavern gets louder. Tables are filled, as is the bar. Several occupants line the walls. A bard plays in a corner where only the corner dwellers can hear. Humans clasp hands with orcs. Dwarves and elves share stories. Even desert orcs and plain orcs, forest elves and island elves, mountain dwarves and valley dwarves share and drink. For Rosner, it really is quite a spectacle. Ticthrim cannot touch how diverse this is, and Lebem still has its sectors. Lasserine, of course, hates everyone not born of the sea. So to see this, it makes him smile. He cannot say why, but it does. At some point, Cyan and Huon reflect on past missions they did solo and together. Whenever they comment on an individual or location, though, Rosner has a feeling it's just a cover. They would never reveal a truth like that in public. Would they? After the stories are relived, and each has their fill of drink, food, and socializing, even Kanyu ends his night more upbeat. They part from the ever-growing bar scene and take the stairs below to their rooms. The Sphinx has neglected to offer any of them rooms, and none are too keen to make such a request. It seems the only one benefiting from this arrangement is Tal Sahul, a swamp orc from Shenvair, and the barkeep. He was distasteful in the beginning, but after a week, the orc started to reveal a moderate side. There was no reason not to. They pay every night, never cause a fuss. A couple of days ago, he even started giving them breakfast on the house. And although it is not much, their pouches heavily thank him. Shortly after realizing they may be around more than a few days, they all started looking for sources of income. Cyan started apprenticing under a swordsmaster, only she does not learn anything. The swordsmaster simply pays for her room. She says it is because she assists in his trainings. Rosner finds it a little odd, but Cyan sticks with the reason and he does not press. Kanyu works at one of the forges. Apparently there are 3. Despite his skill elsewhere, most people frown at it. So, he went for something his kind are innately proficient at. Huon performs at various locations in the city. He plays a pan flute made from what he claims is griffin bone. It is odd. Rosner never took him as a musician. And Kisra, Well, Rosner is not sure what she does. She tells them she helps with the library's record keeping, but Rosner does not buy it, and he does not think the others do either. Rosner has a feeling it has something to do with what happened that night in Las. She mentioned something about space and time, he thinks, but whenever he passes through the library, he finds her amongst the shelves. So, what does he know? As they relish in the joys of each other's company, bitter wind from the north blows through the mountains, carrying with it another light snowfall.